Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 15 now of Sorry We're Closed. And we got a milestone. Big time milestone in the life of Pat Light. It became official as of this recording that I graduated college. So that's exciting. It's a little less. So I went back. So obviously, when you get drafted, and I left after my junior year in college at Monmouth University in Long Branch, or West Long Branch, New Jersey. And when you leave, you negotiate your signing bonus with the team, and you also put into the contract that they will be paying for your school once you're done playing. And so in 2018, when I hung it up, there's like a clause in the contract. You have 2 years after your last professional baseball game. Now, it doesn't include indie ball. It doesn't include anything else. It's got to be a minor league or major league baseball, affiliated team. And 2 years after that. So I would have had until this April to start. I actually ended up starting last fall, September, into the new school year. So I knocked it out. I had a year and a half because my junior year at Monmouth, I knew I was leaving school, and so I didn't schedule the best of classes that would help me towards graduation, which actually worked out nicely because now that I run a few businesses, I was able to learn some things that I actually could immediately implement at Green Rock, or I don't do anything really at Saku, but at Green Rock, or some of the media stuff that I do now, I was able to implement some things. I remember taking an HR course in it was the spring semester because we did the last half online because of COVID. I did that, and I learned that half the things that were on Green Rock's application for new bartenders or servers or kitchen guys, whatever the case may be, was illegal to ask. Couldn't ask that anymore. And those things change kind of constantly, so it was good to have that. We were able to make some changes there. But and there was other things, as far as business statistics, all these boring things that happen behind the scenes of a business. I was able to learn, and I would not have learned these things, I promise you, in my definitely not my last year of Monmouth University back in 2012, but even before then, you're a 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, you're just having fun. You don't care. I'm worried about seeing if I can get into the bar underage on Friday, rather than worried about any type of schooling or learning anything. I'm in school solely to get through it. So it was a little bit different this time around, and I'll show you. Miranda put up my my grades. This is my grades from prior to going back, and my grades now. Obviously, my grades now are pretty much all A's and B's. I had one C in there, and that C was a business history course at Monmouth that's like mandatory for you to take during your in order to graduate from business. And you just learned. It was the most boring class. We sat there for 3 hours. It was a once-a-week class, so you had to take the full 3 hours in one shot. And you literally just sat there taking notes, and you couldn't not take notes. I know that double negative, but you couldn't not take notes because this is all the material you had. You didn't have a lot of professors nowadays, they'll have PowerPoints and follow the PowerPoint in class, but I'm going to put it up online so that you can go study it. This guy didn't do that. This was take notes, and exactly what I tell you is going to be on the test. So if you don't write it down, you have no chance of remembering it during the test. It was a crapshoot. Not to mention, you had to read some books. You had to read 3 books in the semester. I don't read fast, guys. So reading 3 books in one semester was entirely too fast. And on top of it, we're reading some of the most boring books you could imagine. So it just wasn't. Didn't like it. And towards the end, I think I had a B or an A in the class. Probably more like a B, because I don't think I did. I think I got a couple quizzes that I didn't do so well on. And I was going to turn in some assignment. There was one more assignment that was maybe 5% of your grade or so that you could turn in He was letting me turn in, a week or so late and still give me, credit for it. But I emailed him and I was like, am I passing? Am I have to retake this? And he's like, yeah, no, you'll pass without having to turn it in. And I was like, oh, okay, then I'm not going to turn it in. I'd just take the C in a class that is essentially meaningless to me, because keep in mind, like I said, prior to this, I was fairly into school. I wanted to learn. I wanted to become better at business. I went to school for business management, so I wanted to get better at business. There were things I wanted to take away. There was definitely courses there that were a complete waste of time, in my opinion. But there were also courses there that I really enjoyed taking, because I was able to learn. Some of the back alley things, the things behind the scenes you don't see here at I call it the Pat Light Media Company, but it's really not. It's just my essential media company. But I do these things called impressions. Number of times people see what I do, and you're able to market your whatever it is, whether your podcast, your social, all those things to advertisers this way. I would not have learned that without my time at Barstool, but also I wouldn't have learned really how to do it in a professional manner if it wasn't for some of these courses I took. Shout out Professor Boonman at Monmouth University to kind of propel me that and show be able to show companies that I'm worth what, instead of me just saying, hey, listen, I got 20,000 followers, pay me to do things. Well, I have 20,000 on Instagram. I got 7,000 on Twitter. My podcast is getting X number of listeners or whatever it is, and you're getting this many impressions monthly. Now it's, well, maybe we're just at different price points. Maybe they want to advertise with us because we have a good, the right demographic for them and all of those things. And now I'm able to show them, well, you're going to get, 500,000 to 1 million impressions a month. And now we just got to figure out the price for it, and figure out exactly, each company values impressions very differently. So we're trying to figure that out as we go along here. And I'm sure eventually you'll see, advertisers on this podcast as we continue to grow and continue to have, X number of impressions that, that people want and value. Whereas of right now, no, we still have to grow a little bit more, I think. But still, I wouldn't have learned those things if it wasn't for Monmouth. So, that C in that class, although it wasn't a great grade, it just wasn't meaningful to me. And I think that is somewhere, I know schools are businesses and themselves, and they have to, give a bunch of courses, and a lot of it is, I'm assuming a lot of it's, just kind of nonsense. But maybe not everyone feels that way. Maybe sometimes people, maybe other people in class thought this was very helpful to the business that they were going in, and they give you that broad range of education, and you pick and choose what was meaningful to you. But it was an interesting experience going back at almost 30 years old. I was definitely the old guy in class, and I'm not that old, so I can still, some of these people go to my bar, because you have 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds that go to the bar, so that they're seniors and juniors at school, and some of them go there. I've talked to some of these people about Green Rock, and it's fun and all that good stuff. They want me to help them skip the line, but it was interesting going back and feeling that school atmosphere again, walking into class. And keep in mind as well, as I bought Green Rock last September, and I fought like hell with the guy I was buying it from to please give this bar to me before we get to September. And I pushed because one, football season starts in September, and that's busy season for Green Rock. The other reason was I was starting school again, and I although I had great partners, and I had already done some stuff over at Saku, the sushi place. I didn't know all the back office type stuff where you're doing the books for the company in a legitimate way and make sure that your partners are happy. Sending out monthly emails showing exactly the P&L statements, the profit loss statements. If people want to go more in depth into the profit loss, being able to do that in an intelligent way. Making business decisions intelligently, and this is a business that I had some background in, but not a whole lot. And I didn't want to have to learn during the busy season. I remember specifically, and I might have mentioned this on podcasts before, but I remember specifically in September and October, not really having any clue what I was doing. And I remember on Tuesdays, I would go to school all day. I would drive back up from Monmouth, which is about an hour and change, hour 20. to Hoboken. I'd park my car right over here. You can't see me, you can see me point. Right over here is the parking garage. I'd park my car here. I'd walk about a mile to Green Rock, stop in, make sure everything's okay, and then I would go take the PATH train to the city. I'd go live stream because we did every Tuesday. We did live streams for baseball. So I would stream with Barstool from 7 to 10. And then from 10, I would leave there and I'd go back to Green Rock, help them close. And then I'd sit there from like 11 p.m. because we probably close early on Tuesdays or Wednesdays because it wasn't super busy. They're not busy days. So I would close the bar around 11 or midnight. And I'd sit there till like 2 in the morning trying to figure out things and trying to learn how to operate this bar because I couldn't afford to make errors in the first month of me operating the bar. And of course errors are going to be made. But I had no leeway because we were so busy. Classic example of this is liquor laws in New Jersey. If you don't pay a company on time. Every day you buy, let's say you buy 80 cases of Bud Light, right? So at Green Rock, we go through about 80 cases of Bud Light, 80 to 100 of White Claw, stuff like that. So for every week. So if you let's say you buy it on November 1st, December 1st is when the bill is due. So it's actually kind of cool. They let you get the thing, and then they let you sell it, make your profits, and then pay the company back. It's great. But if you don't get the checks there, and if you don't, and you immediately go on what's called COD, cash on delivery. And the thing about liquor laws in New Jersey is if you're on COD with one company, you're on COD with every company. And so now no one can deliver to you unless you write them a check for the amount at that moment. You can still get your delivery, but you have to write a check for that moment. Unfortunately, I'm the only one that can write checks at Green Rock. So I had to be there, and I'm not always there, especially full-time student at Monmouth University. I'm definitely not always there. So it was a nightmare, and especially during fall and all that stuff, I can't afford to not get my delivery of White Claw because it is so important to Green Rock. I can't go into a Saturday or Sunday fun day and have no White Claw. I mean, yeah, we'll still have a good crowd, but if it became a habit or it became something that people thought was always going to, Green Rock's always out of White Claw, then it would become an issue. And we miss out on a tremendous amount of profit if I screw up enough where we don't get that delivery. So it was a very stressful time. I tell everyone I had more stress in those first 2 months of owning Green Rock than I ever did playing baseball, and I made not nearly as much money as I made in baseball. So it was a stressful time. But I asked my mother, because my mom was very big on me going back to school. I wanted to finish school too, although she probably believes that was not necessarily true at the time. I wanted to finish school as well. I just wanted to start in January because the bar was going through, and I wanted to have that month those couple months under my belt at the bar before, which would have made my life a lot easier. But looking back now that I made it through it, it was quite helpful. And now I'm very happy that I'm graduating and not having to go back to school this fall. But it was a shit show. I remember in the first week back to school, I still hadn't officially completed the bar, and I was taking phone calls from my lawyer, and from the other guy who I was buying it from while I'm in class. I'm getting up in the middle of class to go take a phone call, which is not super. It's pretty frowned upon at school. They don't like it. Granted, I'm looked at as an adult in these classes, so it's a little bit different. I always explained my situation to the professor as well beforehand, so they were not left in the dark, thinking that I was just being really rude. But I had a big buyout happening at a bar in Hoboken for my second bar, and it was important that I obviously answer these phone calls. And it was a mess those first 2 months. It was very difficult. And not a lot of people, most people see me on the weekends, and I'm always a happy guy. But you see me on the weekends, and you just see that, hey, Pat's behind the bar pouring JMO shots. Owning Green Rock must be amazing. And listen, it's fun. It's definitely fun. But it comes with its battles. Whether you don't agree with a partner about something, or you have I remember getting phone calls. I remember having to leave my class at one point during the spring semester to field a phone call from a detective about something that was happening, and that's terrifying. I don't like to break. I'm not a break law guy. I mean, I might go over the speed limit, but that's about it. And having to field those phone calls out, and not to mention the lawsuits that we get. Green Rock, in my 1 year that I've been there, I've gone through already about 3 or 4 lawsuits there, and I can't speak on most of them, but 99% of the time you're talking about. I can't go into specifics, but 99% of the time you're talking about like a fight that might happen at the bar, and sometimes they don't even sue the person they got in a fight with; they sue the bar. And, whether they talk about over serving, or they talk about my bouncers weren't there quick enough, or what have you, and it's a zoo. And trying to do all this while also being a full-time student was crazy. The sense of relief that I have right now today. I got the email from my advisor that today is the day that I would be walking. They are doing commencements at Monmouth, but I'm not attending. It's unbelievable now that I can kind of just focus in on my 2 restaurants and focus in on social, which I enjoy doing. I love the media type world. It's a huge sigh of relief to be where I am and to have made it through that, and now having to take this restaurant along with my 2 operating partners and navigate COVID. I don't know if there will be a tougher first year of being a bar owner than what we went through this past year. It was. I mean, it has challenges, no doubt. As you guys know, most businesses right now are going through a lot of challenges. And I saw a business today in New Jersey saying that they were opening up September 8th indoor dining, regardless of what the governor said. And we're in a position where we don't have to defy the governor's orders, but I understand that not everyone is fortunate enough, and you sympathize or you empathize with this guy, because in the post he talked about how I don't have a choice. Like, it's either this or my restaurant goes under. And you're talking about people's livelihoods. I understand that this pandemic is serious and all that stuff, and people are dying, but these are businesses going under are really serious too. And it's much more serious than people think. Than your business went under, you'll be fine. That's people's livelihoods. They may lose their homes. Things are serious here. And I know he's asked for all restaurants in the state to comply and come and to join him in restarting their indoor dining. Green Rock's not going to make that move at this time, so I can promise you that. But it's serious times. It's really serious. And it's unfortunate. And I know that, I have some people that I know who are friends with Governor Murphy or work for Governor Murphy, and he empathizes with people, but he's in a tough position too. I know everyone likes him, sure, but regardless, we're not getting into politics here. But today it was such a big day in the sense that, I can now focus on on really completely only focus on what I want to do with my life. And my post baseball dream, I made one dream come true. Now I'm trying to make the second. And it's exciting. We got one podcast on here. I got my boy Anthony Cirillo. Go follow him on Twitter if you haven't already. He's funny. I tweet him all the time. I know exactly what his handle is. Like A Cirillo 21 or something like that. But if you just follow me, you'll see him enough. Follow him. So we have that podcast. He's blogging for me. I blog occasionally, but I'm not really a blogger. And then I think he's going to do another podcast for the Pat Light Media Company per se. About their betting picks. Him and this guy Pony, who we went to high school with, and they're funny. They're both horrible at betting, so it should be a funny podcast. But it's nice to be where I'm at now and be able to. I mean, the year flew by because of COVID, and being mostly online really helped me as far as schooling was concerned, because I could run my business a little bit better, more efficiently up here, especially through a pandemic, while going to school rather than having to travel all the time. But it was a huge sigh of relief to be where I am now, with school behind me, a diploma coming in the mail, and going into a busy season with the football. We got a pretty cool setup over there with a tent in the parking lot adjacent to us, social distancing and all that. So that's going to be a challenge, and making sure people abide by the rules, and because there's going to be social media posts about us and all that stuff, and we're going to have to make sure that people are following the rules. They're sitting down. And making sure that, we're not being idiots about this. We want to be open. I've already confirmed with the city. They're happy for us to be able to do this, but we want to make sure that we have proactive approaches to make sure that people aren't doing crazy stuff. We almost had we put on bouncers security staff. We almost have a bouncer for every table we have in there to make sure that people are abiding by the rules of 6 feet social distancing, wearing masks when they get up to go to the bathroom, things like that. But there's inevitably going to be problems, of course, and we get that. But we're going to do our best to follow the rules just like everyone else is right now. And we'll see where we end up. But I tell you, it's a lot better right now having this over. And again, this is music to my mother's ears who listens to my podcast. It's a lot better now having this behind me going into another busy season in the fall rather than having to still go back to school now, especially because Monmouth is preparing for students to come on campus. Then still trying to run this place efficiently, at Green Rock. It's a lot better to be where I am now than where I am, where I would have been if I started in January of last year instead of the fall. But I digress. It's a big day for Patty Westside. We got some really good information from school. I will give them that. Talking to an old timer who in 2009 to 2012. I would have told you, what the hell am I in college for? But this past year, there were some classes that were, nonsense. But most of it, a lot of these classes had some actual impacts immediately on my businesses. And, I saw some serious value from it. So happy to have done it. Happy to have got my diploma. And, I'll be definitely having a scotch later today in celebration of my my graduation. So, that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Give you a little insight on what that was like, that first year of running Green Rock and going to school and graduating. It was a mess. It was a shit show, but we made it through it as we always do. And you hate to say stronger on the other side because it's such a cliche, but it really is. It really is because what else are we going to go through that is going to be something like this? So crazy time, but we got there. Once again, guys, if you're listening to this, I appreciate it. Give me a 5-star rating. That would be very helpful. And I always say, if you're not going to give me a 5-star rating, you can go to hell. Got that little line from my good friend and my brother, Sean Light, who shout him out. Got a podcast. If you're into the health and fitness world, shout out the Sean Light Show. I think it's the Sean Light Podcast. Go look that up. He's getting verified on Instagram, so he's thrilled about that. But go follow. Go look at my YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube page, and you can see these as well as the shows I do with Giraffe Neck Mark, talking baseball, and come to Green Rock this fall. I would love to see you guys over there. Have a drink on me. It's going to be a fun time. Make sure you bring your mask. Make sure you're socially distancing, all that good stuff. But it should be a fun time, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys for listening, and until next time, I'll see you at the bar.